Hi everyone, and welcome back to our third video lesson. We're going to go ahead and jump right in and start looking at the pages that we talked about at the very end of our last lesson, talking about reading on the staff. So we're going to do just a really quick overview. So this is a staff, and it's nothing fancy. It's just 5 lines, and notes can either go on one of the 5 lines or the 4 spaces. And one staff basically equals 1 hand of music. So for piano music, we have one here and one here, and the top one is for the right hand, the bottom one is for the left hand, and then we connect them right there to show that this is all one line of music. So when we see music written this way, we read the whole thing from left to right. So we go over here, and if we want to know which notes actually correspond to these lines and spaces on the staff, we use clefs. So an important thing to know is that the treble clef does show the notes that are above middle C, which is the C that's in the middle of your piano. So the treble clef holds the notes that go above middle C, and the bass clef holds the notes that go below middle C. Basically, just means higher notes, higher sounds, and lower notes and lower sounds. It's fairly simple, but something that a lot of people do not focus on that is extremely helpful is that these symbols, like why is this the symbol for higher sounds on the keyboard and why is this the symbol for lower sounds on the keyboard? Why couldn't they just use an up arrow and a down arrow or something like that? It's because they mean a lot more than that, actually, and they mean something that is really, really helpful. I tell my little kids that these clef symbols are actually secret agents. Treble and bass are just their secret agent identity, but their real names are F for bass clef and G for treble clef. Because if we look down here at the actual staff with both our treble and our bass clef, the line that runs through the swirl of the treble clef, the note that goes on that line is G. So we just look for that little swirl, the line that goes right through the middle of that, that's G. The bass clef, if we look for the line that runs through those 2 dots, it's F. And they are specifically, it's the G right above middle C, a few notes above middle C, and this is specifically the F that's a few notes below middle C. So these are our landmarks. They show us exactly where we are on the range of the keyboard from high to low. So you know that if a note goes on this line, it is the G that goes above middle C. If you see a note that's on this line, it is the F that goes below middle C. And as notes move, notes on a staff move from the line to the next space, to the next line, to the next space. We can see this pattern. Bass lines, bass lines, bass lines, bass lines, bass line. Middle C is a line. It's like a turtle. It carries its line on its back because it can float up a little bit higher if you're going to play it with the right hand and float down a little bit lower if you're going to play it with the left hand. And then space line, and so on and so forth. And when we have this kind of motion, this is how it looks when notes are next to each other, also known as steps, also known as seconds. So we can see that they go always following this pattern when we're moving sequentially from one note to the next. So with that little introduction, I think that it's usually easy to deal with this conceptually if we practice it, and it actually makes it a lot easier to do. So we're going to take some flashcards and we're going to take a look at this first one first, and we're just going to look at our treble clef reading actually for our little warm-up today. So what we're going to do, I want you to just look at this and tell me what is the first note? This one right here. Okay, do you think you get it? Okay, so I'm going to show you how we can tell really easily. I'm just going to highlight my little line right here. Okay, so now do you remember which one it is? I hope so that you remember that this is a G. And anytime a note goes on this line right here, we know that it's a G. So here's what I want us to go do right now is I'm going to point to each individual note. Cap this so that I don't get marked all over my flashcard. I'm going to point to each individual note, and I want you to tell me when we're going to start here if this next note is stepping down, stepping up, or staying the same. So remember, up is going to be moving up the lines, down is going to be moving down the lines. Staying the same is going to be, it stays on this exact same vertical plane, okay? So let's go here, and I'm going to say it with you. I'll say it slow, so hopefully you can beat me to it, but we start, step down, step down, step down, step down, same, 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 step up, step up, step up, step up, same, same. Awesome! So now let's go ahead and say these note names out loud. Practice with me. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Say it a couple times. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Okay, now we're going to say backwards. G, F, E, D, C, B, A. G, F, E, D, C, B, A. G, F, E, D, C, B, A. Excellent. You can read music. You're going to be great at this. So, as we step down, we go backwards alphabet. As we step up, we just go in the normal order of the alphabet. So if we start here, G, F, E, D, C, C, C. Still C, C, D, E, F, G, G, G. Okay, now they give you a little helpful hint here. You're going to put your finger 5 on that G, and we're going to go ahead and try playing this together. So I'm going to hold this up so that you can pause the video to look at this. And then I'm going to play it for you so that way you can check and make sure that you got it just right. But go ahead and pause and practice. And since we're in the treble clef, we're going to use our right hand to play this. So I'm going to go ahead and find my right hand, finger 5, on, I'm going to find my middle C, and I'm going to go to the G that's right above middle C. G, F, E, C, Okay, did you get it? I bet you did. So we're going to do another one. And this one, I am just going to let you work on your own. So you find the starting note. It might be the same exact one as the starting note of the previous flashcard. And I want you to talk through stepping up, stepping down, or staying the same, and then add your letters. This one actually is easier. There's fewer letters on this one. And then I want you to find the proper starting note on the piano, and then play it through, saying your note names, saying your finger numbers, any way that you feel is helpful for you to practice. So go ahead and do this one on your own. All right, and so we're going to keep working on flashcards like this, and next time we'll also tackle some with a little bit of bass clef reading in there as well. So let's go ahead and open up your book now to page 30. And we're going to be introducing the idea of time signature as well. So when we learned about bar lines and measures, essentially we talked about the fact that our bar lines were divided into groups of 4 beats. When we set a time signature, that is what specifies how many beats get in each measure. One of the most common time signatures, so common that it's even referred to as common time, is 4/4. The top number here means that we have 4 beats in each measure. And the 4 at the bottom just means that the quarter note is the note that we're counting as 1 beat. So we can have the equivalent of 4 quarter notes in each measure. We could also have how many half notes in one measure of 4/4? 2, because each is 2 beats. They're 2 quarter notes long. We could also have how many whole notes? 1 whole note in each measure, because we have 4 beats in a whole note. We could do a 2 quarters and a half note, a dotted half note and 1 quarter note, etc. So the time signature simply specifies what each measure consists of. The measures are always going to be consistent, and this just tells us how many beats fill each measure. If we look over on the other page, just to skip ahead very briefly, we can also have 3/4 time. In 3/4 time, a dotted half note would get a whole measure because it gets 3 beats. So this is just saying, instead here, our measures are going to be organized by having 3 beats in each measure. The 4 just means that the quarter note is still getting a beat. So we can also have 2/4. You could do 1/4. That would make a lot of sense. You could do 6/4, 8/4, 12/4. You could do many different things. And we'll get into that a little bit more as we go along as well. All right, and so then the other thing that we can do with time signature is also change the way that we count. So previously we've been counting our quarter notes as 1, 1, 1, 1, half notes 1, 2, 1, 2, whole notes 1, 2, 3, 4. When we add our time signature, we can count everything counting up to the total number of beats. So I can count 4 quarter notes, 1, 2, 3, 4. I can count 2 half notes, 1, 2, 3, 4. A dotted half note and a quarter, 1, 2, 3, 4. Really self-explanatory. So if you want to practice counting that way, you can use this little warm-up exercise right here. Clap, tap, count, or play this little exercise. So we're going to go down and we're going to look at our 4-beat alphabet. And what this is essentially having us work on is reading stepwise motion on the piano. That just means where notes are going up sequentially by a step or a second. So as we can see, our piece follows from the very beginning the pattern of space, line, 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 space, etc. So we can see that all we have to do is start this piece on one note and play up sequentially to the top. So we're going to begin by looking at this one. We're going to play this and say the letter names out loud, and then we're going to say our counts out loud. And once you get to that third measure, so first measure, second measure, third measure, when we play that A, B, when we get to middle C, which has a little line that runs through it, we're going to switch to playing our right hand finger 3. We're going to start with our left hand finger 3, and then we're going to play our right hand finger 3 once we get to that middle point. Okay? So I'm going to start on the A. Middle C is right here. I'm going to go down. There's a A that's close to middle C. I'm going to go down to the lower A. Okay? So I'm going to play just with my finger 3, and we're going to start by saying letter names out loud. 1, 2, ready, go. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, 2, A, Excellent job. Okay, let's go ahead and do that again. And this time we're just going to be counting 1, 2, 3, 4. And you're going to put a little bit of an accent where you play a little bit louder and heavier on the first beat of each measure. So the first note of each measure, the 1 in your counting pattern. Ready, go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, right hand. 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Excellent job. So let's go ahead and look over at page 31. We're going to take a look at these counting warm-ups that we have here. So you are going to play, tap, count, sing through these warm-ups. One thing that's very important with counting in 3/4 is that you don't accidentally make the 3-2 counts. So if I counted this 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, I'm doing it wrong because notice I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. There's actually 2 beats in that 3. It should have a very different feeling to our symmetrical time signatures where we have an even number. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. You're going to make sure that each of those counts is the same length. So go ahead and tap, count, or play through these rhythm warm-ups here, and then we'll go down to our 3-beat alphabet. Okay, so we're going to do the exact same thing, exact same notes, exact same finger numbers. So this time we're going to not do our letter names because we did that with the previous one. You are welcome to practice that again if you would like to. So this time we're just going to do our counts, and we're going to start in the exact same place, same finger, and switch to our right hand the second time. 1, ready, go. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, right hand. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Excellent. So go ahead and practice that a few more times until you feel like you've really got it. And then we're going to go ahead and switch over to page 32. And we're going to look at Yankee Doodle. So the first thing to do at the beginning of this piece is determine the time signature. So what I want you to do is go through each measure and count how many beats are present in each of these measures, and then determine the time signature. So I'll give you a little quick second to do that, and then I'll tell you what it is. So this is in 4/4 because I can count very easily. 1, 2, 3, 4 quarter notes, 2 quarter notes and a half note, etc. So this is in 4/4 is our time signature. So then the next thing that I would like for you to do is to clap through the rhythm of this piece from the beginning as you count out loud using you would count it from the beginning as 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, until you feel like you're really comfortable counting with that 4-beat pattern for our musical measures. So then you are going to locate our starting hand position, and it shows us exactly where our right hand and our left hand notes go. So we are going to begin with our right hand thumb on C. Our left hand thumb is going to be on the B, right next to our right hand. So once we've found that starting hand position, something else that you can do to prep, if you would like to, is to circle the left hand notes in this piece. And you can determine the left hand notes because they're going to be in the bass clef, and they also are going to have the stems pointing down. So I'll demonstrate so you can see that. And that might be helpful if you are struggling to know where you're supposed to switch hands, or just to kind of help point that out so that it doesn't slow you down at all. So we're going to go ahead and try it one time. The first time we're going to play it through saying our finger numbers out loud. 1, 2, ready, go. 1, 1, 2, 3, 1, 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, 1. Left hand, 1. Right hand, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 1. Left hand, 1, 3, 2, 1. Right hand, 1, 1. Excellent job. So I would like for you to go ahead and practice that one, saying your finger numbers again if you need to, and then practice saying letter names, and then practice saying counts, and then come back and we will do our teacher accompaniment part after you have practiced that a few times. Okay, so make sure that you're playing up high on the piano, and I will go ahead and count us in. 1, 2, ready, go. And then I'm also going to do a fast version of the teacher part for those of you who are speed demons on this piece and want to be able to play it a little bit faster. 1, 2, ready, go. Excellent job. Very nice work. All right, so we're going to now turn over to page 33, and we're going to look at 2 more melodies that we have available. So first, looking at Row, Row, Row Your Boat. You're going to determine the time signature of this piece. So go ahead and count through the value of the beats in each measure and determine what is the time signature. This one is in 3, 4. For our purposes right now, the 4 is pretty much always going to be at the bottom. And the 3, exactly, we have 3 beats in each measure, so it's going to be a 3, 4. So, and we're going to be in the exact same hand position as we were for Yankee Doodle. Our right hand thumb on C, our left hand thumb on B, right next door to each other. And we're going to go ahead and play this through, saying our finger numbers out loud first. 1, ready, go. 3, 3, 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, right hand, 1, 2. Excellent. So go ahead and practice that now, saying the letter names out loud and the counts out loud, and challenge yourself and see if you can figure out the notes to the rest of the melody, the merrily, 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 and see if you can figure that out. And then we're going to look at the next one. So for our next piece down here, we have Clock Tower Bells. So go ahead and take a peek at this one and see if you can figure out what the names of what the time signature of this piece is. And this one is also in 3/4, excellent. And the exact same hand position as it was for the first piece. So let's go through this one together, and instead of saying our counts, let's say our note names for practice here. 1, ready, go. C, D, G, and hold. G, D, E, C, and hold. D, D, C, G, and hold. G, D, E, C, and hold. Excellent job. So what I would like for you to do is practice this one again, this time saying the counts and maybe another time saying your finger numbers if you find that helpful for your practice. You can also practice this one by holding down the damper pedal on your piano, which is again the far right pedal or the only pedal you have if you have a keyboard. Then you can challenge yourself with a transposition exercise and play this piece using this hand position down here. See if you can find this hand position and play this song exactly the same finger numbers, exactly the same contour of moving up and down, the exact same relationship of if it's stepping up or stepping down or staying the same, but just using these different notes, and see how that goes. All right, and so for the last song that we'll look at in this book today, go ahead and skip over page 34, and let's look at page 35, which is Catch a Falling Star. So we are going to determine the starting notes for our right hand, which plays in the first two measures. Our left hand, which plays in the first two measures, and our right hand, which plays from here. So you notice that there's a blank, and it says 2 on blank, 1 on blank. So can you determine what is this note? Remember, this line is F. Remember, this line is G. So our starting note for our left hand is a B. The starting note for our right hand is a D. So we're going to go ahead and find our fingers on those notes. And we're going to go ahead and practice playing this one by saying our note names out loud. The other thing to notice at the end is the tie at the very end of the piece. So that little line that connects those two notes in the two last measures means that instead of lifting and playing again, we simply hold that out for that entire value of 2 measures, which would be 8 beats. So let's go ahead and start this one from the very beginning, and we're going to say our note names out loud together. 1, 2, ready, go. B, 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 hold. C, D, 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 hold. D, hold. D, 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 C, B, E, D, and hold it. B, 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 C, D, 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 hold. D, hold. D, 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 hold. C, hold. B, and hold it. Keep on holding. There you go. Great job. So if you will, continue to practice this piece by playing it with the finger numbers out loud and then counting out loud. And you may find it helpful to pencil in a few note names. Don't use pen because you want to be able to erase them when you haven't learned. You can also circle any gaps where we're not playing from one note to the next note. We can call that a skip. And you might also want to circle right-hand notes versus left-hand notes just to help you out with that. So then we'll come back and play the teacher part. So I'll give again a kind of slow version and then a little bit of a quicker version. And that's what we'll do. So I'll go ahead and describe from the beat. I'll count us in. 1, 2, ready, go. Excellent. And here is a little bit of a faster version. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, ready, go. Excellent. So that last version is probably a little bit fast, but that's about the tempo that the song is normally performed and sung. So I wanted to give you guys an opportunity to be able to play it like that. And then the last thing that you can do with this piece is to do a transposition to this hand position listed right here. So go ahead and give that a try. And this will really force you to focus on the distances between your notes. So stay the same, stay the same, stay the same, stepping up and stepping down. And it will be really, really good to continue working on your reading. All right, so next you will need to pull out your supplemental packet. And this is from a little beginner Disney book. And so we're gonna start by looking today at I Just Can't Wait to Be King. And I'm gonna go through and basically talk you through how to play this one and then allow you to practice this one. So we're gonna be starting in this hand position here, which they give you a nice helpful little chart for at the top. We're in a 4/4 time signature. Now, if you play this exactly as written, the rhythm is not going to quite sound like the song that you probably know, and you're welcome to change that. If you want to play it according to the rhythm that you're most familiar with, that is also perfectly fine. So, the entire first page is very straightforward and very similar to what we just played in our textbook. When we get to the second page, we have two little things. We have this symbol right here, which is called a flat, which basically indicates for us to play a particular black key instead of the note written. So if you were to look at this, you would see that this is an E, and then this is an E flat because of the flat symbol, which means that we're going to play the black key to the left of that note. So I'm going to find an E, and I'm going to go to the black key that's directly to the left of that E. And it shows you exactly where that note is right here. So you might want to circle these 4 instances where that happens. And then we also have 2 places where we move down to play these 2 notes. So anytime they circle the finger numbers, as they do right here, that means that you're moving your hand. So your left hand is going to jump down to the C and the G. And then it's going to move back up to your starting hand position here with your thumb on A. It's going to go through and then jump back down to that C and G there at the very end. I also sometimes like to write an arrow of the direction that it's asking me to jump. So if I was supposed to jump down, I'll jump down. Okay, so I would encourage you to go through and practice this several times, saying your note names out loud, your finger numbers out loud, your counts out loud. I'm going to go ahead and play it through so that you can hear how your part is supposed to sound, and you can do little checks and make sure that you have all the notes right. And then I will play the teacher accompaniment part so that you can perform it with that as well. One, ready, go. Okay, so that is how your part goes. And then I will play the teacher part so that you can play this with the accompaniment. All right. So I'll count us in, and you're going to play your first note before I come in. So I'm going to come in on the gun of gonna in the words. One, ready, go. Excellent. And then I'll do a little bit of a faster version in case you want to do it much more up tempo. One, ready, go. Excellent, excellent job working on that. Very good. All right, so as usual in your weekly document, you'll have an opportunity to fill out a practice chart with minutes that you've practiced in items. That's for you to use if you find that helpful. I also want to make sure that you guys are practicing the pages that we do in our videos, but that you also know that everybody is going to work through these at a totally different pace. So you may have a ton of time to practice. You may not have a ton of time to practice. If you have a lot of time, you may work through these videos super quickly and we'll cover new material in your private lessons. If you do not have a ton of time, we'll probably go over a lot of this material in your lessons to keep you practicing, and that's one of the reasons why you have lifetime access to these videos is that if you don't get finished working through all of this content in the course of our time together, you are able to continue working on this for as long as you want, and you'll have access to these videos and your materials. So keep up the great practice and make sure that you're very, working smarter, not harder. Always be practicing while saying your counts or your finger numbers or your note names, because it really does help develop that excellent level of reading. All right, and so for your worksheets and listening this week, I'd like for you to look at page 34 in your book, this very short exercise to just write down these note names here. And then we'll also have another little rhythm packet for you to work on, as well as some note naming activities on our musictheory.net website. For your listening this week, you have a playlist of pieces and a short description of Maurice Ravel, who is my favorite composer. So I've been waiting for this week. Ravel is a French composer and known by many, thought by many, to be probably the greatest composer of piano music, because he was really writing for the modern instrument. We'll talk about this near the end of our semester, why I'm not really going to include many composers whose names you might know, Mozart, Bach, because those composers did not write for the piano. They had a completely different instrument than what we have today. And Ravel was writing on an instrument that is very similar, pretty much identical to instruments that we have in our homes and music schools today. And he really wanted to explore the ranges of techniques and sounds that were achievable by the piano. So you're going to listen to a few of his most famous and exciting works. And as always, identify some traits. It's great, once you've been working with some of the other composers, to start to sort of compare and contrast and see what's similar and what's different, all within the same instrument family, and choose which piece on the list was your favorite and why, and then also continue exploring and continue finding more pieces by Ravel that you might love.